continue fighting. And that means
the average woman who works full-time in America earns less than a man, even when she's in the same profession and has the same education. That's wrong. In 2014, it's an embarrassment. Women deserve equal pay for equal work. This is an economic issue that affects all of us. Women make up about half of our workforce, and more, they're our family's main breadwinners. So it's good for everyone when women are paid fairly.
for far too long, the Republican Party has been hammered from a number of sides about what critics call the war on women. Whether you agree with the concept or not is to your opinion. However, even a number of women themselves have tired of the battle cry. The GOP does understand that if they are to regain their level of power in the Congress and the White House, it is a perception they will have to continue fighting. And that means having what some are calling the new women's package, designed to make the party more attractive to current and prospective female voters. So let's welcome into Mid Point Executive Director of the Independent Women's Forum, Sabrina Schaefer, and Democratic political consultant Jessica Tarlov. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Jessica, I'm going to begin with you, and please, if you would, be brief and to the point. Would you please detail what exactly the war on women is as the left sees it?
Well, I hate the term war, but the war for women, or war on women, as my party calls it, is basically the fight for equality, which women deserve. We have a pay gap. Women earn 77 cents on the man's dollar. They deserve more. And President Obama has been leading the fight on this, and I think that he's completely correct. And the fact that the GOP is now trying to make a push to get women voters for the midterms is a completely transparent campaign stunt, and really nothing more. Their policies are rehashed Democrat policies and little else.
Sabrina, to you as a transparent campaign stunt.
Yeah, well, look, it's a transparent campaign stunt from the left. I mean, unfortunately, I'm glad to hear that Jessica says that she doesn't like the phrase war on women, because I think it's terrible, the idea that the president and Democrats in Congress try to pit the genders against one another, as if my interests and my husband's and father's and brothers and sons don't align somehow. We don't live in a vacuum. What's good for men is what's good for women. I believe there are real challenges for women and their families today, but I don't think that any one party is openly hostile, or that society is openly hostile to women and to their needs.
All right, now let's talk about where this starts. Oh, wait a minute, please go right ahead. You had an answer.
I was going to say that I actually take issue with the idea that the GOP isn't openly hostile towards women. I really don't believe that there's been any clear articulation from the GOP about what it is that they think is good for women. And I read in your very well-written article that you say the GOP needs to do better in articulating how limited government policies are better for women, and I'm wondering why it is that they aren't doing that.
Jessica, would you please give us an example of openly hostile, because I think that's, again, one of those phrases that catches a lot of people off guard.
Well, I think that, for instance, like the Hobby Lobby decision is openly hostile towards women. I think that keeping a system where women are going to be earning less than men is openly hostile towards women who are, equal partners in the workforce, and you say equal partners at home and everything else.
I think we may be talking past each other then, because look, I mean, first of all, I appreciate the compliment on the article, and I agree with you that there has been a failure on the right, Republicans, libertarians, conservatives, to systematically and consistently communicate effectively with women. You are absolutely correct on that. Where we differ is that I don't believe that there is widespread discrimination. I do believe there's some discrimination, but I don't think that things like equal pay can be fixed by government. I think that these are things that are better left in the hands of individuals and businesses, and that there's plenty that we can do to encourage women to consider their choices, whether from an early time, to be comfortable talking about money, to feel comfortable negotiating with their employer. These are things that we know that women are not as strong as men are. Let's work on that, but I don't think any kind of piece of legislation like the Paycheck Fairness Act would have the intended consequences that Democrats like to suggest they would.
So, Sabrina, let me throw this to you when it comes down to this new package out here. House Republicans introducing a package of legislation aimed at helping quote, all Americans, particularly women, succeed at home and at work. It apparently addresses pay equity, increasing the minimum wage, impacts women disproportionately, and other issues as well. Some people see this as a half-hearted effort, though. Is this really everything that the Republicans could do in order to put this war on women, war and phrase, to rest?
Yeah, look, it's always easier on my side of the table to criticize, right? It's much harder to be a lawmaker, and I like to put that out there. But I think that in many ways, Republicans are missing the point. Look, the first thing is that we need to actually just speak to women. You don't necessarily need to pander, and I think this is why the right is so conflicted. They see that what happens on the left is pandering, and this in many ways is just that. The things that would help women are expanding educational freedom so people can choose where their children go to school, giving people ownership and control over their healthcare dollars so that they can spend it on the things that they know are best for their families, to rein in government spending so that we don't have a $17 trillion debt that's crushing American families. These are the things that will help American women and their families. I don't think we need to pander on things like equal pay when we know very well that this kind of sort of Democrat-light policy is simply not going to be effective.
I do have to bring this up. Oh, go ahead, please.
Sorry to jump in, but we don't know that it's not going to be effective at this point. I mean, if the Republicans would let it get to the floor and they would pass it, then we could see actually what the implications for it would be. My main issue with the new package is I'm wondering about the timing. The Democrats, we elect leaders to speak for us. We all can't be in Washington. We wouldn't get anything done that way. Not that we're necessarily getting anything done right now anyway. But Barack Obama does speak for a majority of women. He won women in 2012 by 11 points. The lead right now is less, but if you look at key Senate matchups across the country, women might very well be the deciding vote that keeps the control of the Senate in the Democrats' hands.
Well,
so
I'm glad
I think
you
that
said
he does
that,
have a
and
right
I didn't
to
have
speak
to
for
then.
women.
I mean, I think the idea that Republicans are the only ones who are playing politics here is sort of laughable. Of course, I think we recognize that unmarried women are a critical voting bloc for Democrats, and the fact that you were much more organized and got your agenda out a long time ago speaks to that. It says that, look, those unmarried women who Barack Obama won by 45 points in 2008 remain a critical voting bloc, and they also are the justification for things like the life of Julia and the war on women attacks. So as long as we're having an honest conversation, we should recognize that the politics go both ways.
If we're going to have an honest conversation, too, a couple of minutes we have left here, Representative Renee Elmers from North Carolina stated, and this is one of those comments that's going to make the rounds, and I guarantee you the Democrats are going to bring this back against the Republicans. Quote, men do tend to talk about things on a much higher level. Many of my male colleagues, when they go to the House floor, they've got pie charts or graphs behind them. We all agree that we need to bring it down to a woman's level. That's pretty disconcerting to hear someone say that. Wouldn't you agree, Sabrina?
Well, I'm not sure I would have phrased it in those terms. Look, the thing that I think she may be picking up on is that men and women are different. My husband and I both might think that Obamacare is the greatest threat to our country right now, but the motivating force for him, it might be cost. Well, for me, it might be quality of care. Who knows? The issue is that the right doesn't seem to take those gender differences seriously. And for many women, and research that the Independent Women's Forum conducted found, is that perceptions of fairness, for instance, are one of the most important predictors in a woman's support for policies like the Paycheck Fairness Act. So I think what Congresswoman Elmers may have been getting at is that women and men see these issues through different lenses, and that's something very important, although it sounds like her phrasing may have been a little bit off.
30 seconds, Jessica. Then with this new package here, incentivize flexible work schedules, tax breaks for children and families, increased job training, wouldn't you say that at least the Republicans are addressing the issues finally, and they could become formidable?
No, I don't think so, because they're just copycat policies at this point. I mean, those are Democrat ideas. I'm just waiting for something innovative and new to come out of the GOP. Things that Sabrina has said today, I have never even heard from her party. And it would be much appreciated and welcomed by the Democrats, I think, if the GOP really wanted to meet them halfway on this and have a conversation, get a bipartisan bill together, and get something done.
Okay, Sabrina, last word, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that the thing is that we have to recognize that men and women are different. The issues we care about may be the same, but the way that we market them and talk about them and the policies that we present are going to be different, and we'll have to see where it goes.
Sabrina Schaefer, Jessica Tarlov, great to have you both on the air. This is a discussion we will have many times more in the future as well. We thank you both for your time and comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, later on this hour, we go around the dial.